And then let's call on capture points changed. We have all of this set up so it can handle our initial setting up of our capture points in our widget. So we're going to spoof a change because it's the first time. We'll just call that there. Let's undo all of our unbindings now. So destruct all the parent. In case you're wondering what that little TV screen and looking thing is, that just means it's client only. As I said at the beginning of our widget stuff. So grab our game state. We bound to what? Capture points changed and team scores changed. We're unbinding. That was the all. We're just messing with one event, so I'm just doing a singleton here. Create event. Team scores changed. Capture points changed. Get up. Comment. Color. You notice I'm talking a lot less. It's just because things start to get a little bit repetitive, and I think by now you should probably have a pretty good grasp of what to do next as far as our initial setups. Okay, so let's do the team scores changed event first. Let's handle all that logic. These cannot get down far enough. We got our player state. Game state. Our game state, let's get our team scores. And for each of those, we're going to do something. We're going to get break it out here. We're going to see if the team is equal to our player state's team. The reason I set this out here and I don't put it in here is because you want to keep as much checking and logic as possible. You want to keep it outside of your for loop. That's just for performance. So every time it's not doing the check, hey, is my player state valid? Is my player state valid? Every loop, keep it outside the loop. And if we were doing code, I would have put it one step over here. But we're not, so this is more organized. Okay, so if they are equal, we're going to do something. So let's do a select node. And let's see. Yeah, those progress bars. Let's see. We might not have made them variables. Let's check. Okay. Your team progress. You team progress. That might be the problem. Your team progress. Their team progress. Okay. Get it? Just drug it out. Oops, that's yours. Their team. Okay, so if it's equal, it's obviously going to be true, so it'll be your team. If it's not, it'll be their team. Move all that down. Room for the for loop to work. Okay, so we want to set its percent. Progress bar is percent. Let's do the logic for calculating percent. So let's go into our game state. Let's get our score to win. So it's going to be the team score divided by the score to win. Now, if you're not insane, you didn't make the score to win 0, but you could have, like we didn't initialize before. We can see here it's clearly 100. But let's say you didn't do that and you left it 0, and then you go to run a game and you get a crash and you won't know why. Because you can't divide it by 0 in code, it'll go berserk. So what we can do is say, hey, take the max value here and use it. Kind of a safety. I think there was a safe divide function at one point. Maybe there wasn't. But this works just as well. But so what this says is say, hey, score to win, either use it or use 1. Pick the highest value. So obviously right now our score to win is 100. But let's say it was 0 and I had 1. It's always going to take it's always going to take the highest value. So the 0, you couldn't divide by 0. It's just an extra check. If there's a safe divide function, use it, but that's kind of just my own little way of doing a safe divide. And you can see this if you try it on a calculator, it'll yell at you. Okay, so we want the score divided by the maxed value. We're going to actually want to convert that into a float, the result here. And then we want to clamp it. Between 0 and 1. To make sure we don't go outside of those bounds for whatever weird reason. Okay, now we want to actually display the score. So we have our score here. I want to clamp it as well, though. I want to clamp it to the max score. We call that, was it score to win? I think that, yeah. I think that's, yeah, that's what we want right there. Adding some organization. Well, these curves are driving me crazy. There we go. Okay, so we got our score, and we're clamping it between 0 and the score to win, which is the max value. So let's see what we named the text. This guy. So your score text. Make it a variable. Their score text. Make it a variable. We're going to do the same team check here. True. It's your team. Oh, that's right. It's got the variable types. Unwild carded. Ah, no. True is yours. False is theirs. Say set text. That will be this here. Text to int. Int to text. All right. That looks pretty good. Add some comments. Add a little color. Good. Next. Let's handle the player health changed. Let's get our character. Our max health. Do a has is valid. We're going to divide. So player health divided by max health. We're going to do a max safe divide. And does it show it? Yeah, it has our initial value there, so we can be relatively sure that we're going to be fine, but there's nothing wrong with having a little extra check here. Then our player health. That percent. Looks good. Comment it. I'm getting sleepy. All right. What am I doing? Right. Now let's handle capture points changing. Okay. Do we have a capture point box? Don't know if we do. Over to our designer. These Z's. Okay. They are in this thing. Let's call it capture point box. Make it a variable. And this is the thing, obviously, as you can see, that's holding these capture points. There it is. First thing we want to do with it, clear the children. Because we have our demo widgets in there. So we're going to take those out. We're going to get our game state. We get our capture points. Whoops. We're going to loop through them. Make sure each one's valid. We're going to create a widget. We're going to get our capture point world widget. And we're going to shove in the capture point reference. Then we're going to take the box. We're going to add the child. And I'm going to explain what we're doing here because it's a little bit abstract. So what this is doing, we go to our game state, we get our capture points. And for each one of those capture points, we're going to make one of those world widgets that we're going to plug into this box right here. So for each capture point in the world, they get their own widget right under here. And that's all this does. It's going to clear out the old ones because every time it's updated, it's going to wipe out the old ones. It's going to, because we're not changing the number of capture points a whole lot except for at the very beginning of the game. And that's fine to be a little bit wasteful if we have to be. Just make sure everything is nice and clear. So we clear, get our game state, we get our points, make sure those points are valid, create a widget for each one, and then we add the child. Instead of add to viewport, it's add child because we're adding it to that. And that's our capture point world widget. Comment that.